My dad's old radio only played two things: jazz and girls' final moments. The summer I turned 16, the devil didn't come for me and the snarling guitars my parents warned me about. He came through the static on our old kitchen radio. It was 1982 in a corner of North Florida, so small and quiet you could hear the kudzu growing. My life was a flat, straight-line school, church, home, repeat. My parents were good people, God-fearing people, whose world was contained in the King James Bible on the nightstand and the ledger books at the bank where they both worked. Our house was a temple of silence, punctuated only by the drone of evening news or the smooth, sterile notes of my father's jazz records. I lived in books, not the ones they wanted me to read, but dog-eared paperbacks I'd trade for at school. In their pages I discovered a world of kids with leather jackets and defiant eyes, kids who listened to music that was loud and angry and alive. Music my mother, in a rare moment of passion, called the serpent's hiss. That's all it took. The seed was planted. In the space between our kitchen and living room sat the serpent itself, a hulking, wood-cased shortwave radio that had been my grandfather's. It was a beautiful, outdated thing with a big, round, cloth-covered speaker and a single hypnotic green light in the center they called the tuning eye. It mostly sat dormant, a dusty monument to a time before television took over. One evening, my curiosity got the better of me. I asked my father to show me how it worked. He seemed pleased, thinking I was taking an interest in his news programs. He showed me the heavy knobs for volume and tuning, how to coax the needle across the band, how the green eye would narrow and blow brighter when you locked onto a strong signal. I waited until their bedroom door clicked shut and the house settled into its usual deep silence. An hour later, I crept into the living room, the floorboards cool beneath my bare feet. The air was thick and still. I switched on the radio, fumbling with the volume knob and flinching as a burst of saxophone blared into the quiet. I cranked it down, my heart hammering against my ribs, listening for any stirring from my parents' room. Nothing. I twisted the tuning knob slowly. The needle slid past gospel stations and late-night preachers, the speaker crackling and sighing. Then I found it. A distant station, thin and tinny but undeniable. A distorted guitar riff cut through the static, followed by a pounding drum beat. The DJ's voice, slick and energetic, announced, "Tainted Love." I sat on the floor in the dark, bathed in the radio's dim glow, and felt a thrill so sharp and pure it was almost painful. This was it. This was my rebellion. After a few songs, it happened. The music didn't just fade, it was sliced off, replaced by a sound like an open phone line. A conversation, muffled and low, as if the microphone was in another room. It was a man's voice, and the younger, higher voice of a girl. An argument. Her words were sharp, pleading. "Just leave me alone, Nolan." His were a low rumble, placating, but with an edge to them. "Keep your voice down. You want the whole neighborhood to hear?" I leaned closer, my ear almost pressed to the speaker cloth. I could hear shuffling, a sudden thump, like furniture being knocked over. Then, a sound like a plate shattering. A moment of dead air, and then the radio hissed back to the rock station, right in the middle of a guitar solo. I switched it off, the silence rushing back in, louder than before. Dad had said old radios could pick up stray signals, crossed wires, even conversations from ham radio operators. That had to be it. Still, I went to bed with a knot in my stomach. I kept up my nightly ritual. Most nights were just music, a secret world of sound I had all to myself. But every 3 or 4 nights, the intrusion would come back. It was never the same people, but the pattern was always identical. An older man, a father or a stepfather, a teenage daughter. An argument that spiraled into something ugly and frightening before being abruptly cut off. I started to notice a strange, faint smell in the house on those nights, sickly sweet, like gardenias left in a vase too long. Then came the last time. It was a Tuesday in late August, the air so wet you could drink it. As soon as I walked into the living room, the smell hit me. It wasn't faint anymore. It was a thick, gagging stench of spoiled meat, and it was pouring out of the radio speaker. It was so strong I almost turned back, but a sound from the radio froze me. A girl sobbing. A name I'd heard on a broadcast 2 weeks prior. Karina. I forced myself closer, the stench coating the back of my throat. The man's voice wasn't angry this time. It was calm, a soft, predatory coo that was 1,000 times more terrifying than yelling. He was telling her it was all right, that it would all be over soon. Her sobs turned into frantic, desperate pleas. My hands flew to the tuning knob, slick with sweat. I had to turn it off. I had to get away, but the knob wouldn't budge. The station was locked. The needle was glued in place. Karina's pleading dissolved into a wet, choked gurgle. A terrible, final sound of struggle. At that exact moment, the radio's green tuning eye flared, burning with an almost white intensity for a split second before it winked out with an audible pop. Silence. The stench vanished as if it had never been there. I stumbled to the bathroom and was sick until there was nothing left inside me. I never touched the radio again. A week went by, a week of me jumping at every shadow, of the silence in the house feeling heavier than ever. One morning I woke up to my parents at the kitchen table, their faces pale and drawn. My mother was staring into her coffee cup, her hands trembling. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing for you to worry about, Asa," my father said, his voice strained. He was trying to fold the local newspaper, but his hands were clumsy. "Just some trouble over in the next county. Police are handling it." He didn't hide it fast enough. I saw the headline, a story about a missing girl, now presumed to be the victim of a homicide. Underneath there was a grainy school picture of a smiling girl with dark hair. Her name was Karina Martinez. To the side, a smaller, grim photo of a man with hollow eyes. Her stepfather, Olin Tyner. It wasn't a theory. It wasn't a what if. I knew. I had been there. Through some impossible cosmic cruelty, my grandfather's radio hadn't been picking up random signals. It had been tuning into last moments. Final breaths. I don't know how many girls there were. The paper my father hid mentioned others. I try not to think about it, about the names I might have heard and forgotten, about the arguments that were actually death sentences. Sometimes, late at night, I think I can still smell it. That sweet, rotten perfume of decay. I never told anyone. Who would believe me? That for one hot, humid summer, I didn't listen to the devil's music. I listened to his work.